So amid all of the Epstein shit and, the world falling apart and burning to a fine crisp, what more important thing do we have to talk about than the transgender movement, okay? Because when you really think about it, what's destroying the world? I think it's the trans people. Personally. Thankfully, actual Justice Warrior here agrees with me, and he was brave enough to make this 12-minute video going against the grain and really sticking up for people who don't like trans people, I guess. It's over for the trans movement. Let's go.
The first detransitioner ever to win a medical malpractice suit has received $2 million.
Oh my God, I heard about this.
For a double mastectomy that was pushed on this poor girl at age 16 by these so-called medical professionals.
They're not going to let this go ever. I didn't cover this court case yet, but yeah, the Supreme Court basically just ordered, it was a
that
Supreme
settlement
Court case,
is
right? They said these doctors were guilty of committing a crime for giving this person exactly, I assume it's she now, exactly what she asked for at a time when she was suffering from a condition which would have necessitated that procedure. Yeah, some people are going to regret their medical decisions. It happens, okay? But the overwhelming majority of people who get those procedures done, the overwhelming majority, like 99.9%, are fine and happy with their decisions, okay? Doctors should not be expected to predict the future. They can only go off of what they have here and now.
$2 million. It happened in the state of New York, of all places, and this is a big turning point, a big inflection point in order to address the crimes that are being committed in this experimentation on children that has been pushed upon us by the Democratic Party, essentially mandated by them, despite the fact that we would never, for any reason whatsoever.
It's so insane that they say this about like the Democratic Party, because what has the Democratic Party actually done for trans people lately? Like for a while, they were pretty good allies. They were decent. They did the whole song and dance for us, whatever. They appeased us. But like lately, like ever since Trump, it's just been a downward spiral for them. Every single year, it seems like they drop more and more support for trans people, to the point that they were literally discussing throwing trans people like under the bus. Not a literal bus, but like they were discussing just shoving trans people aside because like that's what the polls said. Oh, look, trans people are more and more people dislike them now. Just throw them under the bus. Get rid of them. They're dead weight now. Democrats don't give a
let a 16-year-old girl get a tattoo or do something far less damaging than removing both of her breasts, again, at age 16 years old. Now, of course, this is a major case. We are going to break this down. We're going to talk about how important it is, how significant it is, how hopefully this will open the floodgates for further lawsuits of this kind. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
So one of the quotes that really sticks out to me actually comes from an interview that Fox Varian, the person who filed and won this lawsuit, gave with the Free Press, and it reads as follows. It's hard to face that you are disfigured for life. No amount of reconstruction is ever going to bring back what I lost. And again, this surgery was performed on this 22-year-old when she was 16 years old in 2019 under the supervision of 2 doctors. Now, of course, I will also point out that
okay, if they had the evidence, again, I must stress, they can't predict the future, okay? More people regret their knee replacement surgeries. They literally wish they had never gotten it. Did you know that? It's like 30%. 30% of people regret their knee replacement surgeries. Did you know that? I bet you didn't. Now you do. Can all of them sue their doctors for that amount of money? I mean, it's your whole knee. I'd say that's a little bit more important than these are vestigial, or not vestigial. They're for the most part just decorative, like they're ornamental. Knees are a little bit more important than breasts, I feel, at least for everyday functioning. I guess that's up to personal interpretation. If it were up to me, I'd rather have my knees than my man tits, but that's just me. My point is, I feel like the knee people have a much better case of like medical malpractice by the same standards. The same standards like we have, but nobody wants to talk about that. It doesn't make any sense. None.
Many people who are pushing the transes agenda often lie to people in the public, and they say that there's none of these surgeries going on with people underage, or they say something to the effect of, well, this affirming care is
not genitalia. Generally speaking, the only surgery we regularly do on genitalia of anybody underage is circumcision, and that's right at birth, okay? But it's just odd to me that I never hear you talking about that one, because that's a lot more normalized and a lot more common, okay? As a victim of it myself, mind you.
Absolutely crucial for them, and don't worry, it's completely reversible. And we've not
Now
only
you
heard
know.
this with puberty
I guess.
blockers and of course with hormones, but we've also heard this with a double mastectomy in particular, because guess what, if you had your breasts removed, you could just go get new ones from the store, go down to the booby factory and get them installed.
Where's
but
my
in reality,
foreskin?
we all
I
know
need
that
to go
you're
get a new
doing
foreskin
significant
store
damage
from the
to
store.
a developing body, and again, in no other context would something much less damaging be permitted. But of course, when it's trans is all the rules and common sense get thrown out the window. Now, of course,
You can't do like the transises thing in that like inflection. Like he's kind of just rattling on without ever taking a break, and it's a very scripted joke. I don't know.
the example that people often go to is a tattoo. You have to be 18 years old in order to get one. This is not something that you wouldn't face consequences for if you were a tattoo artist and you did so knowingly on a child. And tattoos can actually be covered up, they can be lasered off, and they don't actually damage your body in the way that a double mastectomy would. Again, especially
Okay, another thing that I need to point out is we do double mastectomies on young boys all the time, young cis boys, like all the time. In fact, 90%, I believe, of all mastectomies done under the age of 18, correct me if I'm wrong, are done on young cis boys with gynecomastia, like 15, 16 years old. I think the youngest we've done it is like 13, like once, right? Dear God Inhale, he does like the bird thing. You know how birds can like, fun fact, birds can continuously tweet without ever stopping while they breathe. They can do both because their vocal cords are kind of separated from their trachea, I guess, or something like that. I don't know the exact anatomy, but that's kind of what he's giving right now, is just like this tweeting bird that just talks and talks without ever stopping to breathe. Can somebody hit AJW with a dysphoria spell and see how quickly he changes his tune? I mean, I don't know. Like, we have, trans conservatives who fight against who are on his side. So, like, I don't know. Would it change him? Would it change her? Would transitioning save her? I don't know.
a medically unnecessary double mastectomy. But again, think about it like this. Let's say you were really into Dragon Ball, like I was when I was a child, when I was a youth, and one of your favorite characters was Future Gohan. You know, the one that trains Trunks, that travels back in time in order to help.
That's so specific, though. Like, okay, Future specifically. Okay, you know what? It's because of the scar on his face. I think it's because
The
of the
Z
scar.
Fighters. Well, Future Gohan at one point in time actually loses his arm, and he's actually pretty badass in that TV special, fighting off both.
See, like, he knows more about the Dragon Balls. This is such a weird tangent. You could make this point in any other way. You could literally say, what if there's a character like I don't know, it's kind of cute, right? Like, he's got interests and hobbies and stuff. He watches the animes.
Droids with one arm, and let's say you like this guy so much that you've decided you want to identify as Future Gohan, so you go to a bunch of different doctors, you explain to them that you genuinely and truly believe that, you get a psychiatrist to say, you know what, I think you are actually Future Gohan.
You get a psychiatrist to say this. You know, the psychiatrist that studied this shit, right? Like I've never heard of this. That's not happening, though. That is not happening. Okay, show me where that's happening. It's not. You know why? Because that's not real. You know what is real? Trans kids. They're real, and they matter, and their feelings matter. Okay, and their bodies matter to them, and it shouldn't to you.
You need Future Gohan affirming care, so I'm gonna recommend you for your arm being cut off so you could be more like Future Gohan. Now, do you think a doctor with a healthy 16-year-old laying on the table is actually accountable for his actions, even if you have a dumbass psychiatrist that believes that he is in need, the patient, of Future Gohan affirming care? Obviously, yes. Obviously, if you cut that person's arm off, you're an absolute idiot in every possible way. And
also, this is just a roundabout way of doing, like, what is it called? Like, when you lose an arm, or no. You want to, like, lob off a limb, right? What is it called? Like, 12 people have ever had it ever in medical history that we know of. Some kind of, like, body dysphoria where, like, it's like limb dysphoria. Where, like, oh, I feel like I should be an amputee of some kind. He could have just made that point, but he doesn't see, like, he had to put his own cute spin on him to appease his nerdy side. What is the logical fallacy for this? What is it called? I don't know. Like, what fallacy would it be? That's a good question. My debate bro brain wants to know now. I guess a false comparison, maybe, or like trans-abled people, sort of. weird coming from Mr. One Piece over here. Okay, but I don't sit here like during political analysis and like explain some kind of deep lore thing from One Piece. Okay? There was like, I think one time I made a the rumbling joke from Attack on Titan, the rumbling. If you know, you know. Okay, it's very big spoilers, so don't give it away if you know. All right, but like, like that's as deep as I go. Like I just say, oh, they're gonna do the rumbling. like that's as deep as I would go. If you get it, you get it. Like, I don't know. That's just good commentary to me.
And if later on somebody identifying as future
Gohan
realizes that they can't even go Super Saiyan and that there's no androids to fight,
you kind of do sometimes.
Shut up. A legitimate case, and by might,
it's not the same because I like the stuff that I talk about.
I mean, definitely would have a legitimate case to sue you for medical malpractice because that's exactly what it is. Now, while you might think that's a ridiculous scenario, in reality, there are fringe stories that we often point to and say that they're absolutely crazy of people amputating limbs, sometimes amputating all of their limbs because of the way that they want to identify, because how they want to be disabled.
Okay, here's the thing with the limb amputation thing. Okay, like one, it's only happened like 12 times. Two, usually when it happens, it's like a finger. Like you feel very uncomfortable with your pinky finger or like the tip of your pinky finger. And usually the way that they deal with that, okay, the overwhelming majority of the time, they just tie their fingers together like this. Okay? That's how it works. If you really want to know that bad, that's how it works. But sometimes it's bad enough, right, that they literally sit there and they start like sawing at the limb. That's how bad the dysphoria is. That is just their personal blend of neuron tissue. And I don't understand it, but I don't have to. Because I don't live in that person's body, okay? So they feel the need for some reason to endure the pain it takes to cut off their pinky or their forearm or whatever and risk a serious life-altering altercation, okay? Like bleeding to death or getting an infection. They're willing to deal with those consequences because that's how bad the dysphoria is. And doctors decide that, okay? Doctors are the ones who study this shit and make those assertions. Or any healthcare professional like myself, a nurse who's becoming a psych NP, okay? We're the ones qualified. You, dumbass from the internet, okay, don't get to make that decision for other people. You don't, okay? You know, you say you always accuse us of like, you know, hiding behind, what is it? What do the TERFs like to say? Hiding behind like intersex people when we argue about this shit, or like using like a minority class for like our agenda. You're doing the same thing with like I don't know if this is a good point to make right now. I just felt like pointing it out.
And this is something that we obviously shouldn't do just because we can do it. Like, obviously, this is an error. Obviously, bare minimum.
I was going to say, you're doing the same thing with people who have that kind of condition.
You should wait until you're an actual adult before making these life-altering procedures. And by the way, many of the trans activists will talk out of both sides of their mouths and say, oh, well, you actually don't get surgeries until you're an adult, even though this is proof positive that that's absolutely not the case. Now, like I said,
genitalia, genital surgery. You don't get genital surgery until you're at least 18. Almost never. I've never heard of it actually happening on somebody younger than 18.
Multiple times, Fox Varian.
And if it has, I'd like to look into that specific case. And, you know, if there's enough info there, I can make that determination. I don't think it's impossible, though, that a doctor might make the determination that, yes, we should perform that procedure on this minor. I don't think that that's impossible. I don't think that's ridiculous. I don't think that that's outside the realm of reasonability. Because once again, if somebody is willing to cut off a limb, right? Like if they don't want it bad enough, they're going to take care of it themselves. And would you rather that happen or have a professional do it? Okay? That's what it comes down to sometimes. Take your pick.
Had the surgery when she was 16 years old, getting approval from a psychologist and a surgeon, both of whom were found liable for medical malpractice by a jury trial, because regular ordinary people definitely understand this. According to the Epic Times, Varian, now 22, is considered a dreaded, non-existent detransitioner, even though they absolutely do exist, and she was awarded $1.6 million for...
That's why they shuffle around the same half dozen that tour the country on billionaire dollary dues Okay, they just live they're living the life out there from their grifty bucks. 6 of them. Like I've seen like 6 of them, maybe like up to 10. Where are all these detransitioners? Where's this detransition wave that I've heard is coming? You know who I know a lot more of than detransitioners? Trans people, a lot more, a lot. And they're all very happy with their care.
Pain and suffering, and an additional
except that it takes too long
for the future medical expenses as a result
and in fact
of the
isn't enough of
malpractice
it
in the double mastectomy after winning her trial. Now look, we should expect this to go to the appeal phase. This is one of those first of its kind of cases. It's also in the state of New York, so obviously we're in a situation.
Since I do not know the story, what was the double mastectomy for? Because this person identified as a boy when they were born female and they were 16 and they grew tits, and so they said, I identify as a boy, please get these tits off of me. Okay? And the doctors complied because they're like, yeah, this person has been, or at least that's what I assume. I mean, do we have confirmation that this was a trans boy, or was it just somebody who like got a breast reduction for some reason and then regretted it later because they wanted a big, beautiful breasticles? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to look into the case. I don't know.
Situation where the woke judges that are appointed by Democrats who have been in power for a long time are
my thing. Once again, my thing is like we let 16-year-olds make that decision all the time, as long as they were born male, as long as they were born with a dick and balls. If you were born with a dick and balls, you can get a breast reduction, but not if you were born with a vagoober. Okay, I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
Likely to try to reverse this or undo this, but while the final resolution of this particular case absolutely does matter, because that will determine whether or not we have precedent not only in the state of New York, but of course nationwide, the fact is it is not a good sign for the trans's agenda that 12 people from the community, that's what a jury is, examine the facts of this case, were absolutely mortified by the medical experimentation that was conducted on this 16-year-old.
What
and they decided that the
experimentation?
16-year-old was awarded $400,000 for estimated medical costs, but 4 times that amount, $1.6 million, for the pain and suffering inflicted upon her by these absolute quacks of doctors.
Are we gonna get the same thing for all the people who regret their knee replacement surgeries? I ask you, like that's your knee, dog. And people, like 30% of people regret it. Where's their 1.6 million? What kind of bullshit is that? I'm sorry, like this is silly, okay? Doctors make mistakes sometimes, but they can only, I stress this, they can only work with the facts in front of them. And the fact is, we give breast reductions to people underage all the time, as long as they're male, but you can make them bigger if you're female, though. We allow that as well. You don't get to sue for that one because you were, old enough to decide you wanted them bigger and you were born with a vagina. So that's fine. Also, it's fine if you were born with a dick and balls and you don't want your breasticles anymore. Then you can lop them off, sure. Here, take this all yourself, my friend. Do it yourself. Save the doctors the trouble, right? You don't give a when it's a guy like born with dick and balls who still identifies as a guy, but suddenly it's a guy born with a vagina who identifies as a guy. Oh, now it doesn't make any sense. None of it.
And again, this was a true David versus Goliath situation because the LGBT lobby, the gay mafia, as they've been referred to multiple different times, they were whole in to back up these doctors, to back up the trans's theory. Obviously, we have everybody in power in New York State that is on board with this, and yet a jury examining the facts realized that these people not only were negligent in the fact that they put a 16-year-old on a list for a double mastectomy and then performed the damn thing, but they ultimately ended up discovering
we do that all
these
the time.
medical professionals, alleged professionals, ended up encouraging and nudging her in that direction, telling her that her confusion, her possibly being a tomboy, which again is something that we've had all throughout human history, could be ameliorated by getting this horrific procedure. Again, it's not—
I don't believe him. That is not how it happened. Okay? Doctors are not nudging people in the direction of getting life-altering procedures done. Doctors and nurses are taught surgery is a last resort. Okay? It is, you go from the least invasive procedures to the most invasive. You start with, manipulation of the body or the mind, therapy, physical therapy, things like that. And then you move into medications, light medications like Tylenol for pain, right? And then you move into more serious medications like gabapentin if you're having some serious nerve pain, or morphine if you're post-surgical, right? And then you move into, as I was stating, the realm of surgery, right? Where we start to actually physically go into your body and make adjustments. And that's the last resort. The last, okay? If somebody doesn't want a breast reduction, a doctor's not going to give it to them, okay? It's not going to happen.
Not only that these people were negligent and they just went along with what a 16-year-old was saying, they fed into the delusion that the 16-year-old was a boy and then pushed permanent altering surgery on a minor.
What's the delusion?
As a solution to...
Somebody explain the delusion to me. Explain the delusion. Why was this person not a boy? Put it in very simple terms, okay? I would love to know. Is it because he wasn't born with a dick and balls? Right? I guess she's a she now, right? But let's just consider this, right? Let's say he's still a he. Is it because he wasn't born with a dick and balls? That's what makes you a boy, being born with a dick and balls? Okay. I have literally personally seen a boy that was not born with a dick and balls. It looked like a vagina, but this boy had XY chromosomes and internal organs that matched males, okay? The penis and balls never formed. Isn't that interesting? You know, like we have things like that, and, you know, you'll say, oh, intersex is an exception. Okay, but you still have to account for that. Is that a boy or a girl? Because you said being a boy has dick and balls. Like when I walk through all these arguments, they don't stand up to any kind of scrutiny ever.
To this girl's problems.
So what was the
Psychologist
delusion?
Kenneth Einhorn and surgeon Simon Chin were held responsible in Westchester County Supreme Court in White Plains for ignoring standards of care and procedural guardrails by pressuring the minor into addressing gender dysphoria with permanent surgery, the jury decided. Lawyers for Varian pointed the finger at Einhorn, saying he drove the train and was putting the idea in Fox's head that she needed to change her gender with surgery, according to the report. Now, of course, many of you out there in the audience are probably wondering aloud to yourself,
I guess it's possible. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. I will need some substantial evidence.
Right now in this
that
moment,
happened.
where are the parents, or where is the parent? Because likely we're talking about a single mother situation, and although that is not expressly confirmed in this article, the fact is we only get word from the mother and get a load of the number that they did on this woman in order to get her to consent to this double mastectomy that she knew was wrong for her daughter and she knew was wrong in general for a 16-year-old girl.
Wow.
Varian's mother, Claire Deacon, testified that she was against the surgery but consented to it out of fear her daughter would commit suicide, according to the outlet.
Wow, it was that bad, huh? They literally thought that that person would commit suicide if they did. Like, do you think the doctors just bullshitted this? To what end? Like, what is the point, of this? What's the point? Like, let's say that everything that you're saying about them is true. Why are they doing it? I don't understand.
This man was so emphatic and pushing that I felt like it was a good decision, Deacon told the New York Times. Quote, I think it was a scare tactic. I don't believe it was malice. I think he believed what he was saying, but he was very, very wrong, she said. So yeah, the mom did not feel like this was a good idea, but of course you have the psychiatrist say, look, she's gonna kill herself. You want her to die? You want her to die because you won't consent to this procedure? We call it top surgery. Isn't that a goofy, silly name that will make you laugh when you think about it and make it not seem as serious as you think it is? Well, here's the thing. If you don't do that, she'll probably...
No, it's just easier to say than mastectomy. It's not that deep, guy.
Kill herself. She'll probably die. You can't wait a couple of years for her to be an adult because she will take her own life, and that's absolutely horrible that you're essentially killing your daughter. Now, please sign this medical form to consent to this procedure. Again, disgusting, horrific.
Wait, essentially kill... Hold on.
Probably kill herself.
Oh, I see.
And that's absolutely horrible that you're essentially killing your daughter. Now, please sign this.
But that's not how it goes, okay? As somebody in the psych field, that's not what we do, okay? That's not the procedure. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible that this person literally did this, but I just doubt it. I don't think that people in the field of psychiatry do this. It's not real. Or psychology. Was it a psychologist? Like, what they do is they assess the child and they, prescribe certain make assertions about like what this person is going through and what the procedure should be for the next steps. Sorry, I know I'm not being super clear right now. I'm kind of tired, but my point is, I don't buy this. I don't buy it I think this is
medical
bullshit.
form to consent to this procedure. Again, disgusting, horrific, and horrible. And again, while this is a great victory against the trans agenda, unfortunately, it is not a complete victory at this moment in time because A, it has not survived the appeal process, and B, they did not actually have the jury decide on whether or not the procedure itself was ethical. What they had them decide on.
His voice is very, like, he drones, right? Like, it's no, like, there's no feeling to it. It's all very, like, one note, like, almost like, like, the pitch variation isn't very heavy. Like, I don't know, like, it just becomes, like, one kind of, ring in my ear at a certain point.
On is whether or not they followed the appropriate steps in recommending this malicious and horrible procedure to a child in the first place. The jury was not asked to rule on the ethics of gender-related surgical procedures for minors, but instead whether the medical professionals took the appropriate steps before suggesting the threshold crossing measure. Lawyers for Einhorn and Chin argued that Varian lived allegedly happily as a male for several years after 2019 before filing the 2023 lawsuit. They also blamed the child, saying, well, she came to our office identifying herself with male pronouns, therefore, what were we supposed to do in that?
They went back through the charts and saw that this person was likely a trans guy. Yeah, I'm sure that, like, maybe they didn't check well enough. I don't know. But, like, when you have a person who is 16, right, you're not a idiot at 16. You are, but you're really not. Like, not when it comes to your body. They have to weigh very heavy, like, options there. Like, if you identify as a trans guy and your background demonstrates that, yes, you match the characteristics of a trans guy at the age of 16, that might, like, at that point, you would also do a mastectomy on a cis guy if they grew tits, which some do. And we happily give them mastectomies. And, some of them end up regretting it because they ended up being trans women. I've actually met somebody who was like that. They had a double mastectomy when they were a teenager because they were a male born with the package, and then, like, they had tits as well, and they got those lopped off, and then, like, they ended up being a trans woman. They're like, oh, God damn it. My point is, sometimes you just end up regretting a medical procedure, and that sucks. But the doctors can't predict the future. They can't, and all the evidence suggests that is an appropriate measure for trans boys. Okay, because it's an appropriate measure for cis boys. So if it's appropriate for a cis person, it can be just as appropriate for a trans person. Period.
Scenario. I mean, do you actually expect us, medical professionals, people who understand the difference between males and females, one of the first things that you learn before you even get to medical school in regular ordinary society, to look this girl in the face at age 16 and say, no, we're not doing that, Polinanica Asparian?
No, we're not doing that. That's embarrassing.
That's the second time
You're
we made that
actually
joke.
a woman. No, of course we can't do that.
Or no. Wait, did he make that joke earlier? Or was that? Yeah, he did. Yeah. It was the same one, right? Or was that a different reference?
Give me the money. Give.
Oh, that was a different reference. Wait, why is he obsessed with Anna Kasparian? Like, one meme is one thing, but, like, she's not that, like I've never seen either of these memes. Like, he did this, right? Does he have a thing for her? That'd be really funny.
That's embarrassing.
You're actually a woman. No, of course we can't do that. We need to feed into this girl's delusion, because what are the consequences? Again, what if somebody came to our office saying that they were future Gohan? Are we supposed to not call them future Gohan and recommend a removal of their arm? No, future Gohan was totally cool and badass, and we need to do that because this is the ethical thing to do. Obviously, the jury was not swayed by that, and thankfully they weren't. And thankfully, we have this precedent.
He's talking as though, like, he's going to explode if he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, he's really chasing. Like, if you slow down a little, you understand if you slow down just a little bit and take a minute to breathe, you can expand your view count or your view time, and then that way you can actually generate more money. Do I got to spell this out for you? Why do you think I pause and take these long rants? Okay, that way I can max out my view time and make more money. Duh. Come on, man. Slow down a little bit. Take a breath.
Although it's not as far reaching as we would hope, but
Be
it's a
entertaining.
good first step. It is considered the first victory for detransitioner against the...
That's the other thing. So many of these people aren't entertaining. Like, I feel like I am many things. You know, I'm smart in some ways, not in others, I think. You know, but like, I'm not here to tell you what to do or to, like, you know, be an authority. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I am an authority on some things, but I don't know. My main thing though is I try to entertain people. I try to be like funny. I try to be like interesting. I feel like if I'm not entertaining or something's not entertaining, I switch it up. Like, I just feel like so many of these people just aren't entertaining. Like, why watch him? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, why 498,000 subscribers? What could he have possibly done? He looks like Steven Universe. Like, what could he have possibly done to like accrue that kind of audience for the shit he talks about? It's not interesting. I don't get it.
Medical malpractice.
What am I doing wrong?
That was hoisted upon them. Again, a detransitioner who was operated on.
What is he doing that I'm not?
Happy to see that happen. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social.
Goodness gracious. I guess my point in all of this is give me your money, because his people are giving him their money. So I'm just saying. Hi, thanks so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you all know that I love and appreciate everybody in my community, whether you can support me financially or just by liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. It helps way more than you know. That being said, I do want to give a very special thanks to my tier 4 subs, which would be Space Timid and Hot Take Andy. And thanks so much to my monetary subscribers from any of the tiered subs, or anybody who gives me money in any form, including going to my Patreon shop, donating money to me directly. It all helps way more than you know. If you do decide to help me financially, you can get some really cool perks like early access to content, exclusive access to censored videos, also some really cool badges next to your name. Even if you can't afford a monetary subscription, just watching, sharing, and commenting on my content helps way more than you know. Thanks again, and I will see you all in the next video.